Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success. This is episode 273. Mike Hopkins here, my good friend, co-host Matt Maddox, all the way from St. Petersburg, Florida, where it's lovely and things are in full summer swing there, I expect. But today is Thursday, and on every Thursday, we like to talk about business development, entrepreneurship, creating a business, sales tips, those sort of things. We've got a great show lined up for you with some great questions, and we're going to jump right into it in just a second. But let me ask you this first, my friend. Since we're here this morning, we do this. This is our 273rd time doing this remotely, sometimes together. But man, I haven't been like in the same room with you for a couple of months. Let me ask you this. What's on your mind this morning, my friend?
That's funny. We haven't. What's on my mind? I'll tell you what's on my mind. Um, what's on my mind is a phone call that I had with a friend yesterday
Yeah?
who called me all excited because he joined a gym. I mean, he was ecstatic. I mean, I could feel his energy in the phone. And he said, Matt, he said, you're not going to believe this gym. And I said, well, what gym did you join? And he told me the name that I hadn't heard of. He said it's a high-end gym. Now watch this. I know that he currently had been a member of Planet Fitness Gym, which is like $9 a month, right? No joke. It's like it's that cheap. It's less than $10 a month. And there's no like, initial startup, fee or whatever. It's seriously easy to, the bottom line is, it was $10 a month and he was already a member. So he joined this new gym, and I said, well, how much is the new gym's membership? And he said it's $70 a month. Now listen to
Wow.
me. He goes from paying $10 a month at a gym
Right.
that's like 2 minutes from his house to paying $70 a month to a gym that's like 23 minutes from his house. Now, I want you to hear this. So, me understanding business and, to me, distance and cash is not really that big of an issue when there's value, right? And we've had this talk about value before. And he said, I said, okay, well, let me ask you this, just straight up curiosity. Why did you go from paying $10 a month to a gym 2 miles from your house to a gym that's like $70 a month, that's like 20 plus minutes away from where you live? Without hesitation, Mike, with passion, with conviction, he begins to tell me, oh, man, this gym's got a steam room, it's got a sauna, it's got full court basketball, it's got tennis court, it's got 3 swimming pools, it's got 2 stories of equipment. You get a free massage once a month with your membership. You get a free haircut once a month. And he starts listing all the benefits and all the value. So here's the lesson, and we've said it before. Like, the price of $70, we might think, are you kidding me? You already were a member of a gym for $10. And now you're going to pay $60 more and drive 20 minutes further? You know what he was sold on yesterday, Mike? He was sold on the benefits and the value that it was going to bring to his life. So what does that teach us in business? That teaches us that we better be very, very, very specific and focused on communicating the the value and benefits of our products and services to our potential customers. Because
Right.
let's be real. It's like this, okay? If I sign up for internet service today and the guy on the phone tells me, well, you can get basic internet, and it's like, maybe $49. But the highest speed possible, you ready for this? The highest speed possible is $89. Without hesitation, I would say, give me the highest speed, right? Because
Right.
we're wired that way as human beings. We act like money's the issue, but it's not even the issue. Now, among people that literally live penny to penny, and I mean like seriously. But
Yeah.
then even then, it's not really an issue to things they really value. You know what I'm saying? So here's the deal, Mike. This is what you asked me what's on my mind. It's been on my mind since he told me yesterday. I thought, you start a gym and you think, hey, you know what? Let's charge $70. But the most gyms your competitors are charging like $10 a month, $29 a month, 49. So they're the highest price, but they provide the most value. So I want to hear your feedback on this, Mike.
Well, that's a great and a powerful analogy, and it reminds me of a great book that I read probably a couple of years ago called The No BS Price Strategy. And one of the things that the author of that book, whose name I can't recall at the moment, the author of that book uh, brings out an argument that you shouldn't try to compete on price. Very few people are in a position that in their particular business niche, they can compete on price. It's only like the massive volume people that can really compete on price, like the Walmarts and those sort of things that say, hey, we're gonna bury our competition by having a lower price. Amazon, right? So most people, and there's a saying that when value exceeds price, then people give money. And so it's really about creating value, creating a situation where the value is higher than the price. I'm just thinking maybe My Health 90 should give free haircuts once a month too. I'll pick up a Flowbee. Y'all just show up at my place and I'll go ahead and buzz you.
Buzz, free haircuts, free massage. I mean, my goodness, But
massage tape.
It is a powerful lesson for anyone in business that when you're starting a business, we're always like, well, what if this is, what if we charge too much for this?
Right.
Well, I mean, you could, it's again, hate to always use the iPhone analogy, but this is one of the most expensive phones out there, right? But why do they sell millions of them? Because this is valuable to people. The value exceeds price. And I just think, Mike, this is our business show and entrepreneurship show. I've been fired up since he told me that story. I'm like, wow, the confidence to charge $70 more than your highest competitor, $60 more than your highest competitor, when you're pretty much a startup gym. But, you're going to attract a certain amount of, and again, that's also knowing, there's some people that no matter what, if you offered them a free meal every night, they're not paying $70 a month because their mindset is so rigid that no matter what, the value could be like unbelievable. You could give them a free oil change while they're working out. And they're not going to do it. They wouldn't do it if it was $20. Because some people, once they get locked in on a price, the amount of people that drop out of doing business with someone because maybe a business has to raise their prices. Let's talk about that. What's your thought about businesses that raise their prices on something? Because it is a risk of loss of customers.
Sure. That's a great question, and I think that honestly, setting a price for a product or service is one of the more challenging things that you can do as a business owner and entrepreneur. It's oftentimes difficult to really, put your finger on exactly where that needs to be, right? What is to get a handle on, because there isn't really a very scientific method to calculating a value to a specific customer. And it's all about, it is all exactly, Al, it's all about perceived value and where people place their value. So when a business raises a price, a lot of times it's because their cost increases. Now there is math involved in, like, here's the cost to deliver the goods, right? Here's our overhead, and so here's the profit margin we want to make. And so that calculating what like your minimum price is one thing, but of course you're in business to make money, so typically you're not gonna want to get by on the thinnest margins you possibly can, again, because you don't want to compete on price. So I think if a business raises, one of the things that you want to do as a business, I think if you have to raise price, is that you want to also somehow add value. And if you can find a way to add value without adding cost, then you can raise price. You get a higher value for the higher price without creating a perception that you increase the price without increasing the value. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, let me ask you this though, before we get into some questions. What would you do if you were the sales rep or owner of that? Let's say when he goes to I'd like to cancel my membership. They always say, if you don't mind me asking, why? Well, I've decided to join a gym. So would you still what would you do? Like at that point, if your competition is offering all these things that you literally cannot offer, then at that point, your only edge is price. You would
Yeah.
have to sell price at that point. You know, the value obviously that you're giving for the price, you could somehow try to compare the two. I mean, what would you do in that situation?
That's a tough situation because it's almost apples and oranges, right? You've got it's almost a different service, right? There's a basic like a Planet Fitness which has equipment, and that's pretty much it. And then you have a full service gym that has all the other stuff, like I think of like a YMCA that has classes and it has pools and
Well, the pool
you
would
know
sell me. I mean, the pool would sell me. Any gym that's building a gym that's not building a pool to me is foolish, in my
yeah.
opinion. You know,
I think that it's a different class of service. So it would be difficult to try and say, hey, this. So really, what you're looking at is that person decided to change the class of service that they were paying for, right? It's almost like going from a feature phone to a smartphone. It's two different things, you know. One offers all kinds of benefits and features that the other one doesn't, but there's a totally different value, totally different price point. It's on a different scale. So, I mean, how do you, as a feature phone manufacturer, say, somebody's going to get an iPhone, you try to keep them? Price is the only thing you have.
yeah. Well, I love what Al, oh my word. Al, long lost Al, we've missed you. We talked about you on the show the other day, actually, Al. We quoted you a few times. Good to have Al back. We missed him, haven't we, Mike? I like what he said. Never look desperate, because if you do it based on price, the customer owns you and will keep going down. That's a pretty good thought. But let's get to Lance's question here. Should a business raise value every time they raise price? Of course. In my opinion, Lance, I think that you have to, because people are funny about money. And if they're used to paying for something that they're already getting, and then all of a sudden you increase the fee, but there's no increase in value,
Right.
then most people are going to run. They're going to be like, well, forget this. Especially if there's a competitor out there that has the same price point and the same benefits and services and whatever. So I think anybody that's in business should always be focused on communicating value. And I can tell you, in my early years of business, this was a mistake I made. I ignored the value conversation many times and the benefits, the what's in it for me conversation.
Right.
A lot of times you can get trapped into talking about the features of your product. And, at the end of the day, an umbrella is only valuable to a person when it's raining. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, when people don't want or need something, very few people are going to buy it,
Yeah.
What are
Hey,
your thoughts on Lance's question?
well, Mary and Lance are both asking sort of the same follow-up question. Well, what if and I touched on this a bit earlier, what if your cost of goods increases? Like, what if your actual cost to deliver the product or service goes up? Is it reasonable then at that point for the company to raise their price simply because their cost increase? Does it make sense from a math standpoint? Yes. Does it make sense to the customer? Look, the customer doesn't care. They don't care if your costs increase. And so if, and you look at a situation like a utility company or one of the, something like a cable company where the customer has no choice.
Mike cuts out right as he gives the punchline, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, hopefully at that point, I don't know what he was about to say. My thoughts on what if the price because the cost of goods increase. That's where that's where hustle comes into play, in my opinion, where you still have to somehow provide more value. Somehow, some way, whether it's a higher level of customer service, whether it's
Right.
some kind of deeper personal touch, you have to, in my opinion, because today business is so different because of the internet. It's people do not realize how much Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook has changed business forever. That's why people that were unbelievably successful in small business 30 years ago, if they were starting today with the same methods and the same mindset, they would be blown out of the water, because you have to be so, I think, Mike, actually, it's easier today to be in business, but it's almost tougher. It's tougher
Yeah.
because anybody can get to anybody because of the internet. So, and word of mouth now has the biggest platform on the planet. If someone had a bad experience before Google and YouTube and whatever, maybe their cousins heard about it, maybe their neighbors out in the front lawn, maybe their coworkers, but that was probably to the extent of it. Nowadays, you got a flight attendant that's just being a unbelievable, nasty, whatever. Someone whips out their phone and videos it, or mistreating a customer, and it goes on YouTube, and all of a sudden you got 400, 500,000 people watching it in 24 hours. You literally have that kind of stuff going on, which I know I kind of veered off point a little bit, but I was just talking about, Mike, there is such a hustle that people have to stay ahead today. It is
True.
easier, but it's tougher. It's tougher because of these reasons, what I'm addressing, Lance, that, the customers don't care. Like, in other words, they don't feel sorry for you or us or whatever that our cost of goods has increased. Not like we can send an email to our customers, hey guys, you know what? They're charging us more for these products now, so we've got to. They really don't care. I mean, they might say, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," as they take their business somewhere else, if we don't somehow give them a perceived value that as we raise price, we're also raising benefit and value, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's smart business, and always find a way to add value when you have to raise price. Of course, before you even do that, look for efficiencies, and Al touched on it. Maybe find a different source, find a way to become more efficient, to lower costs, those sort of things. But once you've done that, you've exhausted those opportunities, and you're looking at, look, we need to raise prices. You have to add value to it, or the customer's gonna, not gonna receive it well. I was actually thinking, as you were talking about the commerce scenario that we have today with social media, with internet, with all the things that we have, it's really a great environment for the customer, because the customer really gets heard on a level that, they never did before. And so, there's sort of, if you want to look at it this way, almost like crowdsourcing information about companies. Right? I mean, you think about, even you go to Amazon, you're looking at a product and there's 1,500 reviews, and you can look at what the average review is, right? And you've got outliers, right? You've got crazy people on both sides of the fence, but in general, you can see what the reviews of the product are, and people trust that, right? Word of mouth. We've got word of mouth at light speed now. So what that means for a business owner is you have to take care. Each individual customer is important, more than at any time in history.
Absolutely. Good stuff, right?
Take care of your customer.
Conversation.
Hey, so let me jump in, and I'm just making sure we don't have other questions that we need to answer here from our live audience. Of course, if you're watching live, ask the questions in the chat box. If you're watching later on the archive, you can email us or text us. Email mike@mathematics.com or text us 727-341-5599. Hey, let me ask you this. Speaking of taking care of the customers, can you give an example that you had in your past of like mind-blowing customer service?
Here's what's sad. We're talking about mind-blowing. Here's what's sad. I might have to sit here for 5 minutes plus to think about the last, wow. I'm thinking. I really am thinking, and I interact a lot with business and whatever. I cannot think right now. And the question was mind blowing.
Yeah. Let me go over one while you. I'll give one while you think. How's that sound? Because Mary reminded me of one. I had a rental car from Budget Car Rentals, I think when we were in Chicago, probably for Mission 25. And somehow I missed a toll. And the cameras take a picture, and of course it's a rental car, so it goes to the rental car company, and I get like a bill for like $75 for the toll. And I'm like, what? And I'm looking at it, and it's like, $15 to the city of Chicago for the toll, and then like $60 that Budget charges for a like a convenience fee to pay the toll for you. And just like Mary said, you tweet it and wait. So I literally tweeted it. I'm like, what's the deal? Or I was just like in frustration. I'm like, I can't believe it. Budget charged me $60. Within a minute, somebody from Budget responded, and they not only took away the convenience fee, they paid my toll.
Wow. See, there it is. I mean, that's again I don't know why, because I know people write books about customer service. I know there's motivational speakers out there that talk about customer service. I know that most businesses have customer service managers. I don't know, Mike, if it's just the overall mindset of people nowadays because of entitlement thinking, or because of the fact that most people view it as a job. Maybe the training process of the company has failed. Because honestly, Mike, I'm thinking of maybe my last 7, and again, I do have a little bit of higher expectations, not much, but I'm thinking of my last, say, 7, customer interaction where I was the customer. I just don't know of anything that was just out of the ordinary that just stands out, and that's, maybe at the grocery store, the lady asked me, you want help with your bags? And I mean, I'm wearing a fitness shirt, I'm a young athletic guy, and I'm like, thank you, but I think I got the bags covered, and I made a joke with them about it because that's what they're trained to do. Ask every customer if they want help with the bags. Well, to me, that's like, guys, kind of like profile the people you're asking. Like, do you really think I need help with my bags? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, well, Amazon is absolutely one of the best in customer service. No doubt about it. So yeah, Mike, I just think maybe we ought to consider a maybe we ought to consider doing some type of customer service training for people, for businesses. Maybe a new business idea.
I'll add that to the list. Hey, let me ask you this, and I know that a lot of businesses today are really lacking in customer support. Good question, Lance. No, a business should not sabotage so they can come in and be a hero. That's not a good idea.
Not a bad strategy, Lance. I get your point, but
too many things can go wrong. I definitely wouldn't. You don't want to. You know what? You don't want to create a negative scenario for someone because it may cause additional issues. I wouldn't do it. Hey, other than like lacking in customer service, what are some other things that you see businesses, are missing?
You know what I think businesses are missing nowadays, Mike, because of technology? I really believe businesses are missing the personal touch. I really do. I mean, we've talked about personal touch a little bit. And again, personal touch is tough to scale. We understand that. But the effort has to be there. There has to be an effort of something beyond a letter in the mail, an email, an automated message. I mean, I believe that personal touch is absolutely key, in business, especially today. In today's business, to me, you automatically have a competitive advantage of your competitors if you can provide better personal touch. If that means whatever that personal touch means. For example, I mean, I bought a car last year, and I've never once heard from the dealership again. Now, What do they'll do? They'll send like, hey, we got a big 20% off sale. To me, they would be smart to take their, last year's customers, divide them by like 15, give them to their employees, have a little hour training session, say, hey, give every one of these people a personal call and mean it. Hey, how you enjoying the car? How you liking it, man? And really just not to like tell about another offer we have coming up, but to just simply care enough to say, hey, we really want to know how you liking it, man. Have you had fun with it? Have you had any problems? And Mike, that would go so far. I'm not saying I wouldn't go back and buy another car there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying I'm dissatisfied. What am I saying? The personal touch is missing. You know, I belong to a gym, I never get personal phone calls, ever. And to me, knowing the amount of different gyms there are, I think that people should be delivering on personal touch, in my opinion. That's just my thought. For example, somebody had a semi-bad experience. Okay, I gotta calm them down. I'll be back in a second. Somebody had a bad experience in My Health 90, and it wasn't even anything. It seriously wasn't even anything we did. But I immediately called them. Not to, my motive for calling them at that moment was not even to win them back. It was to let them know I'm honestly very sorry. I really am sorry. So I'll be right back, guys.
Hey, Al asked a great question. What's going to happen when robots take over customer service? And it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek question, but really, there's a part about automation and technology that is really becoming a more central focus in customer service. And I think that there's actually a place for automated, sort of automated services when it comes to customer service. When you want a quick answer and it's something that can be handled automatically, because people they definitely value personal touch, but they also value their time, right? So Matt's going to be on text for the next 4 minutes, but people also value time. So if you can save people time by using automated responses to some of the inquiries, I'll give you a great example. Amazon, we were talking about that a little bit earlier and how their customer service is great. You can get a text message when your stuff goes out for delivery. You get a text message when it's been delivered, those sort of things. So that's an example of using automation, using technology in a good way to deliver good customer service. The opposite of that is, we all know, you call in and you've got to, press 100 different numbers, go through a voice, robot situation to try and get an answer, to try and get to somebody, and it just doesn't work out. Or it takes you 20 minutes before you get a live person and you really, can resolve it with a 30-second conversation. That's an example of what's a bad example of using automation, using technology, using robots, as it were, to cover, sort of your customer service scenarios. So I think it can go both ways, and I think there's opportunities to really actually increase the level of customer service that you can provide using automation.
Mike just cut out. They told me they were done drilling and then they're finishing, so let's see what happens. Guys, very sorry about the last 4 minutes of our show here with the drilling. I forgot they were doing that this morning. And then Mike had to cut out. I think he's coming back. I'll let him wrap up the show so you don't got to listen to the drilling. Last 4 minutes, Mike. We need to give some kind of personal touch for the last 3 minutes of our show, man.
I think we just press on. It's like, what are you doing? It's just sometimes you just have a rough day and you just got to deal with it. You know what? Personal touch. Here's part of the personal touch is being human, right? A robot can't be human. A human can be human. And personal touch means being human. All your faults, all your issues, the fact that, your kid's crying in the next room or whatever, they're drilling. I don't know what they're doing there. Apparently, build the studio.
Got a little remodel situation going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Mike, you know what, though? Hey, I do want everyone that's in business or thinking about starting a business to really take a deep look at personal touch. I know Mike and I are. In fact, we tell everybody all the time. Somebody said, even when somebody was wanting to buy My Health 90, we were like, hey, you have to retain us because My Health 90 would sink without us because You can automate all this, meal plans and videos. But one thing Mike and I are committed to is personal touch, and so that's just the bottom line. And at the end of the day, Mike, one of the reasons businesses don't do personal touch is because it's a grind. It's a lot of like give without perceived ROI. Like, in other words, you might spend an hour with a customer and then like you're not going to get any cash out of it at that moment. But if you get a lifetime customer, you get somebody that's sold on you and your business for life, then even though you may not see it in that hour, even in next Friday's payroll, you're still going to be blessed long term.
It's good. One of the reasons companies don't do it is that personal touch, frankly, is expensive. Automation and robots and call trees are inexpensive. Human interaction is expensive. So that's one of the reasons why companies don't do it. Mary, you're asking about how do you consider personal touch when building an app. It depends a lot on the nature of the app and what goals you want to accomplish with that. Right? And in some cases, people don't want personal touch. I mean, just to be real, sometimes they just want to like take care of something, be done, have it off their plate in 15 seconds. And if you can do that, that delivers value. But if there's an issue with the app and somebody wants to talk to you, figure out how it works, then they need to be able to get a hold of somebody and actual talk to a real person or interact through text or whatever. So and that's where you bring value, bring personal touch when there's a problem, potential scenario, question, usability, whatever. I think that's when you really need to amp it up. So you want to leave us with a sales tip real quick?
Sales tip of the week, my friends, would be this. Show interest. Okay, so you have the script, right? Don't be afraid to veer off script and show some interest in the person. A lot of times salespeople want to rush, stick with the script because, we got to meet quota. Screw quota, my friends. I mean, quota is important, but caring is more important. So slow down and show interest in the middle of the script. And when you're asking the questions and people are sharing something, don't be afraid to pause right there and care about what they're sharing and maybe even ask more questions, even though it's not on the script. Believe me, I know this. And a lot of times, I could make my sales calls in probably less than 7 minutes, maybe 11. But usually my average sales call lasts 25 to 30 minutes because of this element of caring and showing interest. Now, does that lower the numbers, in the short term? Yes. But in the long term, it's going to put us ahead of everybody else because I'm telling you, people will gravitate. It's like this, okay? It's like kids. Kids gravitate to people that care about them. And people are no different, my friends. People are no different. It's like churches. What I tell churches all the time, pastors like, well, we got better music and I'm a better preacher. And I sometimes tell them, say, look, eyeball to eyeball here, they care more. And when businesses care more, you're going to win more customers. Trust me. It just works that way.
Good. Hey, great show today. And thanks, everybody, for being here and enduring through our difficulties.
Love y'all. We'll be back. Mike and I will be back next Tuesday we don't know yet. We're going to mix up our show a little bit, so we'll let you know. Just stay connected. Make sure you subscribe to Spreecast. Also follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Go to fuelforsuccess.com to watch any of our previous 273 episodes. Maybe, Mike, we do the switcheroo at episode 275, but we'll talk about it. Mike, you never know what Mike and I will do. The day is still early. My God, it's only 10:08. It's 9:08 where Mike's from. A lot could happen between now and midnight. So for now, I know this. Mike and I will be back next week. And you can find us on YouTube by typing in Fuel for Success and watching any of our episodes on YouTube, iTunes, free podcast. In other words, all 273 of these shows can be on your phone or in your iPod, and you can be listening to them while you run, while you work out, just not while you swim. That's all. Hey, we love you guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. And enjoyed being with you, Mike, this week. It was a great week of Fuel for Success.
That's right. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. God bless.
God bless.